So, I have one question for you guys. Have you guys noticed that the world quite literally hates itself? Everyone hates each other. There's so much fighting. When a lot of people even try to have a simple conversation, difference in opinion, especially nowadays with social media, it's very easy to block someone so you don't have to listen to their difference in opinion. To even either confirm whether you're right or the opposite, to find out if you're wrong. It happens, you know? Sometimes I'm right, sometimes I'm wrong. I'm wrong about a lot of stuff. I'll admit when I am wrong. I make mistakes. I'm human just like everybody else. But I've been noticing a trend here, and it's amongst the liberals themselves. And I'm noticing it a lot with Canadian liberals. Now, Canadians are supposed to be the nice people of the world. And let me tell you, in a lot of situations, that is true. But in a lot of situations, I think that's also very fake or just completely untrue. One thing that I've been noticing quite often is that I'll go on X, formerly Twitter, and I'll see somebody posting something about their opinion, usually politically, and instead of ridiculing them and calling them an idiot, as they often do, I will ask them questions as to, why do they believe this? Why do they think this will happen? More often than not, I'll either get a really stupid reply from other people who had nothing to do with the original post anyways, or there just won't be a reply at all. Or you'll get blocked. I've had this happen from quite a few political pundits, if you will. They're not, I wouldn't even really, I don't know. They're not really like political commentators. They sort of are, but they're more like activists. It's either their way or no way. They will not argue with you at all. They will not listen to your side of things. And I've had this happen many times before. It's not the first time. Definitely won't be the last time. There's always going to be difference in opinions. However, somebody's at least somewhat intelligent when they're capable of at least having a conversation or a debate and listening to other points or other sides of the story. But it's only getting worse and worse and worse, especially from what I'm noticing here in Canada. And it's becoming very sad. Today, for example, I was blocked by a political pundit, formerly a radio show host, and probably a few other things, known as Dean Blundell. He's pretty popular in Canada. His opinions are, in my opinion, very, very far left. It's just like, typical political talking points. Will never agree with anything that anyone on the right, anybody who's even maybe kind of middle of the road, which I consider myself. I don't even consider myself conservative, but will I vote for them in the next upcoming election? Most likely. In the last election, I actually wanted to vote for PPC, which is known as the People's Party of Canada, led by Maxime Bernier. Fantastic dude, has really, really good policies, but unfortunately, he just doesn't get the votes. And either we pick a team that can win. I'm kind of even torn between this because I still want to vote for him again. I want to vote for that party. Wanted to vote in the first place. What happened is because we are a parliamentary system, we had to go and pick our member of parliament. Unfortunately, the guy who was running for the party had dropped out at the last second. So when I went to the voting station, my dude was not even on the ballot. So I'm like, fuck the Conservatives at the time. I will not vote for any member who is being led by Aaron O'Toole. If you don't know who he is, that's fine. You can do some research, but he was the leader of the Conservative Party of Canada at the time in the last election that had been called. And he lost. Basically, Trudeau ended up getting the same numbers that he had gotten the last time, maybe marginally higher, which is kind of crazy to think about. But what I think had happened was that most people had not really woken up yet to what was happening. What I think is that they weren't really paying attention to the fact that the economy was on the verge of crumbling. High inflation had not yet kicked in. Housing prices were booming. There was still huge amounts of demand for real estate here in Canada, which is a very, very large market. Unfortunately, in Canada here, we just don't manufacture a lot of things. We have a lot of natural resources. We choose oftentimes not to capitalize, hence the word capitalism, but capitalize using those natural resources to profit and make the country wealthy, so that way we can actually have all of the things that we want. And it's kind of crazy because the Liberals here, the Socialists here in Canada, they don't want to capitalize, if you will. They hate corporations, which I'm not a big fan of big corporations either at the end of the day. But the problem is that they want to socialize everything. They want everything to be paid for or taken care of by the government, which only gives the government more and more and more control every step of the way. A little while ago, it was dental care, which, yeah, of course, dental care is important, but should the government be paying for your dental care? No, that's on you. Sorry, straight up. But I don't think that there should be another program that is another facet of government control and then manipulating things just so that way you can have clean teeth. Okay? I understand dentists are expensive. I get it. Not everybody can afford it. I totally understand that. But I just don't like big government. I don't like where we're heading, where they're taking control of every little thing, costing everyone more and more and more money. Let's be realistic. It costs extra money just to have the program alone versus you just going to the dentist on your own, volition, essentially. Now we have free birth control is the next thing that they're implementing. So it's like, where will they stop? What else are they going to be controlling? Are they going to be controlling the food supply chains, the food prices? Because manipulation of that is going to lead to disaster. Major recession, essentially borderline hyper-socialism, or even worse, communism, which just, in my opinion, does not work. There's no country that's really proven that it works. But anyway, yeah, so that's kind of where we're heading right now. So we have a lot of issues. But the other thing that I'm noticing, back to kind of my previous point, of the fact that people cannot have a simple conversation. They cannot argue with each other. And I've had this happen many, many times. I've been essentially shat on just because I'm considered successful, which I guess I'm like moderately successful here on YouTube. I'm okay financially, whatever. But like, I'm not some multi-millionaire, billionaire dude going around with, fancy cars and can do whatever it is that I want. I still have to keep working in order to be able to have the things that I want or to achieve my next goals. I am not wealthy or abundantly wealthy. My health is good, but that's about it. I got family, which is important, and enough money to survive. But, I've been shat on and basically been told that my opinions don't matter because I'm in the upper echelon all of a sudden, which is not even actually real for me anyways. But the other thing too is just like, the fact that you're essentially not even allowed to argue opinions with other people. For example, I remember I was dating this one girl. I won't name her name, but we'll call her dumb bitch number 3 or 4 or whatever she was at the time. But I remember everything was going good in this relationship. And then we started having a conversation about abortion, because that was at the time when the Roe v. Wade thing was going down in the United States, where the feds essentially got rid of it altogether. And we got on the topic. We were sitting there having sushi, and I was just kind of explaining my opinion. And I'm like, from a moderate person politically, I understand both sides. I'm not in favor of abortion. Personally, I don't like abortion at all. But living in our society, not everybody is, religious or a Catholic like myself, where a lot of that, those moral opinions come from, or views, if you will. So no, I'm not in favor of abortion. However, I do understand that we're living in a society where there's a lot of secular aspects to it. There's a lot of people who are not religious at all. Not even spiritual. They're just atheist. And that's fine. If that's your opinion, that's on you, right? So we have to kind of factor those people into society because we all live together in a community. But to me, these people don't want balance anymore. When they're calling for abortion, a lot of these people, first of all, want late-term abortion, which is disgusting. Or in some instances, there have been some far left liberal, quote unquote, types that called for essentially aborting after birth, which literally makes no sense. And if you want to look it up, the former governor of Virginia, not Glenn Youngkin, but the one previous to him, actually said it on a radio show where he said, let them have the child, and then it's their decision what they want to do after that, which is disgusting. That's essentially murder. You're terminating a life, and even late-term abortion. But I've always been kind of in, somewhere in between where it's like, I don't agree with you on abortion, but I will understand your point of view, and we can have, I guess, some of it just for, society to continue functioning so we're not at each other's throats. And there has to be some sort of, middle point, somewhere where we're going to meet along the way. 4 weeks, whatever it might be, 8 weeks. I don't know. I don't even know what it is exactly right now. But things are just getting out of control because people are arguing for more and more, because it's kind of like you give a little bit and they just start taking a lot, right? And it's kind of like the same thing right now with a lot of the, the LGBT arguments, right? I don't really give a shit who you want to have sex with. Go out and live your life. Do whatever it is that you want to do. You're going to have sex with somebody? Of course, do that's you, right? If you're gay, I got nothing against you. I really don't give a shit, right? If you're trans, again, I don't care, right? The problem that I'm seeing, and a lot of people are saying the same thing, and a lot of people are getting this all mixed up, because now people are constantly being called, transphobic or homophobic, or now just the big one in general is transphobic. You're now transphobic. You're not even homophobic anymore. We don't even care about that anymore. Now you're just transphobic, right? But a lot of people, obviously there are some people that are, of course. But it's just a lot of far lefties who absolutely hate religion, right? They'll say some stuff about you that is religiphobic, I guess we'll call it. I don't even know if there's an actual word for it. I'm just making something up here, but it kind of goes both ways, right? Now, I'm not in agreement with people who are transphobic in general. If somebody wants to go out and live their life peacefully, that's on them. What I do have the issue with is the stuff that's going on in schools. So right now in Ontario, we have people fighting over, or had people fighting for Catholic schools to be able to wave the flag outside the school. And they voted it to be taken down. There are now no more rainbow flags outside of Catholic schools. Just gonna take a sip. Cheers. Now the other argument is the flags on the inside of schools. And these are Catholic schools. Public schools, I guess, kind of whatever. I don't even think that those flags should be flown outside of public schools either. I think it should be the national flag, the provincial flag or territory flag, depending on where you live, and then obviously the municipal flag. I think that's it. That's all we need. Right? There's no straight flag. There's no black person flag or Italian person. Well, there is an Italian person flag of the country, but you get what I mean, right? We're not flying those things. We shouldn't be flying those things. It should be, the pride of our nation, our province, our municipality. We should be proud to be living where we are, but a lot of people are not. And then they're just going yelling things out no, the conservatives are gonna ruin Canada. Why? Because we want to take a flag down. Relax, take a chill pill and just relax, think it out, and listen to the arguments. You're arguing with Catholics. It is against Catholicism to be showing those things, right? We cannot be having those. But not only that, but it's the stuff that's being instilled into children. It's being over-sexualizing children by the time they're 8, 9, 10, even 12, or high school kids too. I think that's incredibly wrong. It's too much, right? We can't be having these books showing people how to give each other blowjobs in libraries, in schools. That's ridiculous, in my opinion, at the very least. And I know a lot of people would also agree with me, right? So there's that. But back to the other thing, you can't have arguments with people. And I do think that people need to be able to have conversations and listen to one another instead of just being at each other's throats. Back to the abortion thing. When I explained to that girl that I was not really in favor of abortion, but I can meet her kind of in the middle. As it turns out, she was a far lefty, very, very far left, and she didn't even realize it. Most of these liberal types don't even realize it, but most of them are just kind of following the herd. They're not sitting there and truly thinking something through. They're just being told something and saying, yeah, that sounds good. I'll go with that argument and I'll just basically regurgitate what it is that I'm being told. They're not actually sitting there and really thinking about it, right? If I was a staunch conservative, because I'm Catholic, I should have just outright said, fuck you, no abortions at all. But I am willing to meet you in the middle, right? And it's the same thing with the LGBT stuff or LGBTQ or IA or whatever. There's so many freaking letters now. Everybody keeps adding things and it's like we're just losing track of everything at this point. But it's like me, again, if I were a staunch conservative, I would say, no, that's not allowed. But I'm not. We're meeting you in the middle. We're saying, yeah, of course you can live amongst us. We're living in a community. We should all love each other and respect each other, regardless of what somebody's sexuality is or race is. It doesn't matter, right? But of course, it always comes back to that stuff because that's literally their only argument. Now, the other thing in terms of actual, from my perspective, what I'm seeing here in Canada, I'm sure it's happening a lot in the US. I mean, there's a huge election coming up. Now, I would not consider myself a Trump supporter. First of all, I'm Canadian. However, I will, I guess, to a point, offer Trump my support for a myriad of different reasons. Mainly because hopefully there would be, less foreign war or, a lot of that kind of policy implemented when Trump comes into office. The craziest thing about Trump lately that I've been hearing, whether you're in favor of Trump or against Trump, that's your call. First of all, it was very evident from the debate that Joe Biden definitely should not be running anymore. He should not be running again. Right? He was the president once. Just take your small win and move on. Or big win. You're the president of the United States. That's a pretty big win. But at this point, it's like the dude couldn't even argue. And I've had arguments recently with people that literally told me that they would vote for Joe Biden even if he was dead. They would vote for a corpse. That's insane. Like, I've had these conversations with people, right? And it's like, you couldn't understand half of what he was talking about. And then he's trying to insult Trump over golf. And it's like, the fuck is this? Right? This is barely even politics anymore. It's like a high school debate. It was weird. It was we've gotten to the point where this is just stupid now, right? Pick somebody who can actually at least speak and function in a debate of all things. The other thing that I've been noticing with very anti-Trump people, if you will, is that they're still somehow convinced that he's going to be a dictator if he wins again. He wasn't a dictator the first time he was in office because people seem to forget that he was the president for 4 years. And I don't know what he dictated exactly, what he told people that they couldn't do. It's not like he went around and, eliminated trans people or gay people or black people. I don't know what people are talking about anymore. It never happened. They keep claiming he's racist, misogynist, this and that. It's like the dude honestly is kind of just funny. Like, he just says what's on his mind. And a lot of people are just too afraid to do that. And I think that's why people connected with him, because he tries very hard to relate to the average person, whereas the other people do not. And the same thing kind of applies now in Canadian politics. I don't think, apart from rich people, I don't think there's too many people in Canada who can actually relate to Justin Trudeau. There's a facade about him. He's very fake, right? He's putting on a character, if you will, these fancy suits. And there are moments where he does try and relate, where he'll go to like a festival and he'll randomly start doing some weird, awkward dance. And it's like, whatever, dude, dance your heart out. I don't really give a shit. But when it comes to Pierre Poilievre, who is the opposition now in Canada, it's just what I'm finding is that the dude is way more relatable. And I think that's what people are getting. And I think that's what the liberals are missing. Now, they're going around saying things about him apparently being drunk, and they're trying to show these videos. I'll scroll through Twitter in a few minutes, or X, and you'll see these videos, because for some reason my algorithm is now filled with lefties and liberals. I don't know what's going on, but it's a lot of banter of making a lot of weird accusations towards the conservative leader. And I can't really there's no explanation for them. Like, they don't actually explain their reasoning as to why he's a racist or why he's a misogynist or why he's a white supremacist or supposedly a drunk now is the new one, or why he's siding with terrorists, right? The Freedom Convoy or Diagolon or whatever, all that bullshit. And it's just like, I don't get it. Like, you're going to say something, prove your point, right? And that falls back to exactly what I was saying about Trump. Like, what do you mean he's a dictator? Like, explain what you mean, why you're saying that he's a dictator or some sort of fascist, right? It just doesn't really make sense, right? The fascists really are the ones taking away your freedoms, like guns. Owning guns is freedom, right? So to take them away from people is something that Fidel Castro did when he became the leader of Cuba by force. And they were savages. They did not agree with gay people. They tortured gay people, right? Here, the conservatives don't do that. They're leaving you alone, right? The other part, and this is kind of back to that because it just popped back into my mind, because there's just so many things that I have to talk about. There's just been so many things happening that I'm observing and really just need to get it off my chest. With Pride Month just passing, the things that I'm seeing on the internet, and you can't even go into like super, screw it, we'll describe what we saw. Pride events now have gotten out of control. And they've kind of always been like that, but I feel like from what we're seeing, it's getting worse. A lot of people in Toronto, I think it's Canada's largest city, there are people marching down the road in front of children, completely nude. Right? Now, I'm not against nudity. You want to be nude, do it in your house, be out of view of children, or, you know, anybody who doesn't non-voluntarily want to see, you know, your wiener or your naked butt. Go to a nude beach where there's signs that say you are walking to a nude beach. That's fine, I guess. But it's just like they're taking advantage of what they're being allowed to do, and they're going too far. And people are now getting upset. And it's kind of funny how this is just starting now, this whole argument with the whole nudity at Pride Parade, because I went down there. I had a lot of friends who wanted to go when we were in grade 9. I think I was 14, 15 years old at the time. So we went, and I went with them. I hung out with mostly girls back then. Not all the time, but there was one particular group where we were very tight. You know, we had known each other since elementary school, so we kind of stuck together, and we decided to go. And we were the minors in the crowd. And yes, there were nude men in what I would describe as kink, leathery outfits, if you will. And they didn't care that we were minors. They didn't even, it seemed like they didn't even bat an eye, right? Now, these are public roads. They're just marching down a road. So anybody could walk through and be like, with a child and be like, holy crap, right? Now, from what I'm hearing is it gets even worse in San Francisco. You have people in pools who are holding signs or have a sign next to the pool, and they're naked in this pool and basically asking people to urinate on them, which is kind of fucked up because it's public. Like, dude, you want people to urinate on you? Do it in your own bathroom or something. Like, that's no one should have to be forced to watch that. Well, you're not being forced, but like when you don't know what's coming, you're walking down the street and all of a sudden somebody's pissing on somebody. What is that? Like, that's like, where have we gotten in society? Right? Like, where have we gone? We've gotten so far off the path of morals and what's the difference between right and wrong. Not everyone, but a lot of people, right? The whole idea of liberalism, where it's like, yeah, you're free to do whatever you want, but now we're allowing illegal shit, stuff that would normally be illegal. For example, people are complaining to the Toronto police, and the Toronto police are going, it is in our best interest and the community's best interest to not get involved. And it's people are asking them questions. Literally, there's voice recordings of them asking Toronto police saying, if I walked down any random street completely naked, would I be arrested? And they said, yes. So why are they not doing anything about this? I'm fine with Pride Parade. You want to march down a street and, you know, celebrate your gay pride or that you're trans or whatever it might be. That's fine. I don't give a shit. Walk down the street with your flag for the 1 day, 2 days, whatever it might be. That's cool. I got no issues with that. That's freedom. But now you've gone too far. And it's been happening for a long time. I'm surprised, actually, now that I'm 33, it's been going at least, that was 18 years ago when I went, so it's been going on at least that long, right? And to us, it was quite shocking because we were not expecting to see a bunch of old naked dudes in kinky outfits that day. But we did because they were there, right? And it was also being tolerated, which I don't think it should be. And then there was another situation apparently where people were giving, we'll call it fellatio on the side of the sidewalk. I believe that was also in San Francisco. And yeah, that's now where we're at. But yeah, still can't figure out the whole argument with the whole Trump thing. But honestly, some of these people are just going to be impossible to get through. There's still people kind of nitpick like certain reasons why they hate Trump, but it's never like anything really policy related. And that's the kind of like my thing with the left is they never really argue policy, so to say. It's more specifically about the person. And it's usually based on accusations from the media more so, right? Like things that people are saying on CNN or MSNBC or even CBC here in Canada. And it's like you're not really expressing any real factual points. It's just kind of, oh, he's a misogynist. Oh, he's racist. And I'm like, okay, prove it. Like, what did he do that's actually real? What did he really say? Oh, January 6th, he told those people to go and break windows and break into the building and take it back and form a coup or an insurrection or whatever. It's like that's not what happened. He told people to march peacefully towards the Capitol and make your voices heard. Read the transcript. If you think I'm wrong, please pull up the transcript from January 6th. I've read it multiple times. I've even had this argument with other people in person, and I've pulled up the transcript and proven to their face that they are completely incorrect. So please, by all means, do your homework. Now back to Canada. Some of this stuff is really funny, but let me switch to my my X screen here. So this is me getting blocked from Dean Blundell. Oh no, blocked by another liberal for having opinions. Whatever will I do? And that's kind of what happened. A lot of times he would post. For some reason, I just kept getting recommended, and it's been happening a lot now. And I guess it's because I engage with them. So if you engage with certain people, and then what'll happen is your algorithm for your account will start changing and you'll start getting recommendations of other people, I guess, with similar interests or similar things that they talk about or post about, right? So I think that's kind of what's happening. So I was getting a lot of these recommendations from Dean Blundell. And how am I not following Elton Castee? Yeah, let's follow him. Cool. That's really funny. But yeah, so I'm just going to kind of scroll through. This is my replies. These are who I'm replying to. Most of it's just, between me and friends and obviously just posting stuff directly to you guys. This is crazy. Not all of you are going to agree with me, but this is literally batshit crazy. So this Nora Loretto, I don't know who this is, says, now we're talking. So there's been an election apparently in France. I haven't been really following it too closely just because, there's more shit going on here in Canada and I could kind of care less about how France decides to destroy itself. But France's left-wing New Popular Front, NPF, calls for a 90% tax on all income above 400,000 euros. That is crazy. So do the math. 400,000 euros after 90%. I know it's over 400,000, but just for easy number sakes, over 400,000 euros at 90% leaves you with about 40,000 euros a year. That's insane. So you'd be giving up 360,000 euros. Do you understand, left? Do you understand what that's going to do? You are going to destroy your country because now what you're going to be left with is $0 in taxes. Do you know why that is? Because those people are going to leave France. If it were me, I would not stay there. Why would we already pay 50% here in Canada, and that's bad enough. 90%? Really? Okay, whatever. So yeah, my response was just rest in peace, France. Apparently around the world, and I've noticed this a lot in my travels, there are a lot of people out there who hate Trump, and it's fine. You can have your opinion, whether faulty or not is up to you. But fair to say the Germans have some expertise in this matter. So apparently because they had Nazis in Germany at some point, they know fascism. right? Which I don't think they really understand, that Trump's not actually on the same level. The Trump movement, the whole MAGA movement, Make America Great Again, is actually considered a populist movement, and it is beneficial to pretty much the entire nation. And that's the reason the type of policies that he typically puts forward benefits the nation, not everyone else. Not giving money away to Ukraine or Israel or any other country. It's keep the money here, let's benefit our own economy, and then once we're finally in excess, then we can maybe give it away. Now, here in the West, we have an abundance of resources. People make fairly good incomes. We live a fairly good quality of life. And I do think that's why a lot of people, especially on the left, will justify wanting to give away the money, right? But what they're not realizing is that you're only hurting the people you're claiming to argue for. So by us giving away billions and upon billions of dollars to other countries, disproportionately affects low-income people like homeless people, veterans who obviously need help. That takes away money from our own healthcare system, where here in Canada we have a socialized healthcare system. So that disproportionately affects people who rely on that healthcare system. So by all means, you want a good healthcare system, feel free to keep giving away all the money that we have, right? Because we are overly taxed in this country. But anyways, looking at this thing is really funny because they're actually claiming that apparently Donald Trump is a larger threat to world peace than Kim Jong-un, Vladimir Putin, and Xi Jinping, which literally makes no sense to me. I don't know who this other guy is, probably the Iranian leader or something. But I responded by saying, funny how the guy with the highest percentage didn't kill or starve his own people like some of the other guys on the list, but doesn't matter since Orange Man bad, which is effectively true, right? So if you really look at it, the CCP, Chinese Communist Party, Xi Jinping, who's currently in power, actually forces Uyghur Muslims into concentration camps, which essentially is eliminating them. That's a genocide. Vladimir Putin, essentially not really a democratic dude. Overall, we know that country's fucked up. They're very corrupt, is what it is. And then there's obviously Kim Jong-un, who's quite literally starving his entire population. But somehow Donald Trump still ranks more than 2 times higher than the leader of North Korea. I don't know if people like in Germany know what happens in North Korea. I'm sorry, but are Germans dumb? I don't think Germans are dumb by any means necessary. But if you are seriously thinking that Donald Trump is a larger threat than Kim Jong-un, who is literally threatening to nuke other countries simply because they don't like them or for political points in their own country, to continue starving their own people to death, makes no common sense whatsoever. And here we are. So yeah, there's so many here. I'm just trying to find like some other things that I've been kind of looking at, but like in Canada, I'm just finding a lot of people are just, they don't understand things, right? People don't want to actually have real arguments at all. They're just making up the same shit over and over and over again. And it's like, dude, please argue some actual policy. Let's stop it with the, oh, you're a misogynist, you're a white supremacist, and this and this and that. Let's talk some real words. Let's stop talking like we're fucking children, right? Like, that's stupid, right? But I don't know. Excuse me. Yeah, there was a couple other things here. Where did it go? Yeah. But yeah, even on my travels, like I've been noticing a lot of people hating on the US in general, hating on Trump, maybe because they're completely misinformed and have never even been there. But yeah, I don't get it. It's strange to me. But here's another thing. So here's an example of the reason why I probably got blocked. I don't know if Dean Blundell went back through the conversation, but he says, This guy talks like he learned to speak English on a speak and spell. I don't know what that is, but if you wondered if they were running educated people to run your country, listen to this moron. Now, in this video, it was very simple. He was basically it was an acceptance speech because he won. And this is kind of the turning of the tide. This even kind of shocked me. I thought they weren't going to win, but we had a by-election and there was one riding in Toronto, which is typically been heavily left-wing. And this specific riding has been typically liberal for the past 30 years. They have not lost this one seat in Parliament. This was the first time they lost. And the Liberals are fucking salty. They're extremely salty about it because they are so afraid to lose power to what I would say is a lot of just, average and ordinary working people. And that's kind of how I would classify Pierre Poilievre. Like, yes, okay, now he has money after many years of earning it, but he comes from he was adopted by, I believe, Irish immigrants. I think one of them was Irish. The other one might have been French Canadian or something. Grew up in the west coast of Canada and didn't seem to have much of a lavish lifestyle, whereas Justin Trudeau, on the other hand, grew up with essentially a silver spoon in his mouth because his father, his family in general, were very wealthy, and he still is to this day. So it's like, you guys keep arguing about, oh, well, I'm not going to vote for the wealthy rich person, but it's like you're still arguing for them. By arguing for Trudeau, you're voting for the rich dude versus somebody who, like Pierre Poilievre, who actually came up, by himself and essentially created himself overall. So it's like, your argument doesn't even actually make any sense. You're doing the complete opposite of what it is that you're arguing. And it makes no sense whatsoever. But yeah, I think that's going to be pretty much it for this segment. If anything else comes up, there's a lot of these. Actually, no, I'm not going to end it right there. No. We're going to, what we're going to do here for a second. Let's scroll through my page. Let's just scroll through and see what it is that's being recommended, just so you guys can get a genuine idea of what's going on. Here's what I don't understand. So here's Roddy, for example. I've seen this guy pop up quite a few times. Here's what I don't understand. Biden is not doing well. Trudeau is wildly unpopular. North America is fighting its own fight against the far right, but seems unwilling to pull out everything they have to beat it. Why? What is that? That doesn't even mean anything. Again, they're arguing about far right. I don't know who's far right, but I assume they're saying, here's another one. Dear Canada, please do not elect Pierre Poilievre common sense conservative government. It will be disastrous and deadly. Signed, Ontario, who suffered under Mike Harris. And it's like, okay, but tell me why, dude, beach lover, explain your thought process here. You're not actually saying anything. You're just saying words, but not actually explaining anything. Makes no sense. We got almost half of the dentists in Canada have signed up, FFS. Wow, provincial dentist associations. I don't even care about this. I'm trying to find more the fuck you conservative type of responses because there's been a lot of them lately. And yeah, if you scroll through long enough, they'll pop up. They were just here 2 seconds ago. Actually, I think they're on this page. There's one. That's what I was looking for. Have you noticed that the people who claim to hate PM Trudeau tend to be racists, misogynists, conspiracy theorists, low information MAGA type supporters, and Alberta ditchbillies? What does that mean, ditchbillies? I wonder why that is. Alberta ditchbillies. Is that supposed to mean something? Is that an insult? In my opinion, I would definitely much rather hang out with somebody who's a hillbilly than this fucking asshole. Just saying. Yeah, and then we have this person who's claiming I'm a speech pathologist. What you see here is not dementia, it is stuttering. No. We've seen the progression. His brain is literally melting. I'm sorry, guys, but Biden's brain is melting. Here's another one. I'll be voting for the one on the left. Why? Why, Sean? Explain why. I will accept your argument as an argument, but please have one. You're just stating something, right? Here you have a man in a suit, which obviously is dressed up in a suit because, he's the prime minister for one. Other reason why he has fancy suits is because he's rich. Whereas the dude on the right is probably by many means not exactly as rich as Justin Trudeau, and is obviously dressing more down so that way he's relatable to the working man. So you have the guy on the left who's pretending to be relatable to the poor and the working man, but doesn't act like it ever, right? And then you have the guy who is, but the people who want the guy who looks like the working man, acts like the working man, is in favor of the working man or the poor, but they don't want to vote for him because they'd much rather have the guy with the silver spoon in his mouth. It's the same argument over and over and over again, and it's redundant. Please have it in the comments. Feel free to argue. I don't care. I'll listen. I want to see what your opinion is. I'm tired. I'm genuinely tired of people who are just doing a whole lot of this, spewing verbal diarrhea, but never actually having a point, policy points. That's how we used to have elections. We would argue policies, and then we would vote based on who was the best guy with the best policy, not who was the guy who's the misogynist or the white supremacist or whatever, all that nonsense. But I digress. So I'm going to end this segment. I'm going to try and do these more often because Moshi's not always available, and I do have a little bit of time before we go away. Sometimes thoughts just come to my head. So we're going to have a few more of these kind of like monologue episodes. I understand everybody on this channel might not be interested in politics. Boo-hoo. Sorry. I am. And I want to talk. Hence the reason why I have 3 different channels. So if you're not into it, sorry, you can wait for another episode that you might be interested in. Maybe where we have a guest, or where Moshi and I are just laughing at random stupidity on the internet, or sharing random stories and ideas. But for now, thank you for joining me on this fine evening. And I will see y'all in the next episode. Bye-bye.